Welcome to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point.
Mason Rudolph and the Steeler offense saved Christmas for Steeler fans, and now they're doing it in the new year, hopefully. Welcome to our post-game coverage of a big win for the Steelers. 30 points again. That's back-to-back 30-point games. The first time since 2020 that has happened. And the Steelers remain alive with 1 week left in the regular season. Welcome to our program. Bob Pompeani along with Chris Hoke. Hokey Bros 76. Mason Rudolph has been your man. You've said it repeatedly. He's gotten his chance. And, boy, this offense seems to come to life. Big plays everywhere. Threw 3 over 40 yards, I think 6 over 25 yards. Yeah. They were doing it just about to the point of 468 total yards in this game.
And there's no question, 468 yards, Bob, is the most since 2018, right? November 2018 was the last time that they had this many yards. So this is really a well-played game by the Steelers on the road in Seattle, where it's very, very difficult to win. The Steelers have managed to go out there and not play very well. In this game they did. But, Bob, when you look at the offense right now, it's just functioning at a high level. They're moving smoothly. Mason's sitting in the pocket and throwing the ball down the field, and that's what's energizing everybody. George Pickens, Najee Harris, everybody's excited because they're able to move the ball and score points.
Yeah, and they're doing it because Mason Rudolph is very patient in the pocket. The play he made to George Pickens on the diving connection was the best example of that, where he had an opportunity to look downfield. He waited. He could have moved out of the pocket. He stayed, was willing to take a hit, delivered it, and then made a nice throw to Pickens, who laid out and got it. And George Pickens has really come to life, even in the blocking game. And he was critical on that down-the-field block that sent Jaylen Warren into the end zone. Yep. Dan Moore also rubbed out Devin Bush on that play, and the Steelers really owned the line of scrimmage. That was the number one thing coming into this game. Seattle was number 6 to the last in giving up yards, 165 yards a game in run defense. The Steelers went over 200 yards today, and they knew they were going to pound it, and they did it very well.
Did it very well, and they control the line of scrimmage, right? And that's what you want to do. Coach Tomlin talked all week about the importance of winning this game at the line, and they really did do that. And Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren both ran hard. In that first half, Bob, they had 145 yards rushing. 83 of those yards were after contact. That's running angry, and that's running with physicality. That's how they need to run this time of year.
Angry runs by both running backs, as they were not to be denied. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to do it over the next couple of hours with you. Mike Tomlin's postgame is straight ahead. Player interviews. Rich Walsh is in the locker room, and then we'll take your calls. It's a night to celebrate a Steeler win tonight on New Year's Eve, 30-23 at Seattle. They go to 9-7 with 1 game left at Baltimore. We have a lot to break down next right here on your Neighborhood Ford Store Extra Point on KDKA+.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. New Year's Eve in Pittsburgh got off to a good start for all you party goers out there. A lot to celebrate. The Steelers win 30-23, and they did it by leaning in on our ground game. That was really good today. 46 carries, 202 yards, and some big runs, as Chris said, after the fact, after contact. Both Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris were just moving a lot of defenders. On Seattle, certainly down the middle of the field. That's where Devin Bush got pushed around a little bit. I know Dan Moore Jr. knocked him around on a couple of plays, so they got to the second level. Let's take a look at the scoring summary as we wait for Mike Tomlin to address the media. And you'll see it starting with the big touchdown run by Warren. That completed a long drive. And, Chris, the one thing we see about this, time of possession, the Steelers had the ball for 15 minutes more than Seattle. These touchdowns that you see were the product of long drives and a lot of conversions on critical downs.
Absolutely, and it was those long drives that wore down the Seahawks defense. The Steelers were 6 for 13, almost 50% on third down, Bob. That's a great percentage in a game like this on the road.
And another thing that allowed the Steelers to get some extra points later was a nice hat trick of sorts for Nick Herbig, the rookie who came into the game. And he got a strip sack of Geno Smith, recovered the fumble, so he gets the sack, the forced fumble, and the fumble recovery, and the Steelers got an extra field goal as a result for that one. So that was all big as the Steelers end up winning this game 30-23. And you'll see that Boswell, once again, was perfect in this game. Doesn't miss, he's Mr. Reliable, and they made it difficult. I thought a key thing was after the onside kick also was right off the bat, they go for a pass to George Pickens. And when you have a team that's expecting another run because the Steelers had run it down their throat, you know it's one-on-one coverage to the outside, and Pickens always wants the ball in one-on-one, and he says, even if I'm covering, I'm open, and Mason Rudolph certainly trusts that.
You think he's happy now, right? With Mason Rudolph here, you and I were talking about this over the break, 326 yards of receiving George Pickens since Mason Rudolph in 2 games since Mason Rudolph's been the quarterback. He's going to be happy, and that's why you see him blocking down the field. Mason Rudolph is able to stand in the pocket, deliver the football down the field, and that's what this offense needs. What I really was evident to me, Bob, and what I saw was that the Steelers really do have talent on this offense. They just need a quarterback that can stand in there and deliver.
Yeah, and he stood in the pocket and delivered, and Mason Rudolph's numbers suggest that. 274 yards passing today. And again, many of them are waiting. He let the pocket collapse around him. He did not get himself out of position, and as a result, he made plays. And the other thing about him, Chris, and you've alluded to this before, the one thing, he goes through his progressions better than I think any quarterback we've seen this year, Pickett, Trubisky, or him, and he knows where his check down is. Yes. His check down is not his primary receiver, but he knows where that person is at all times.
And that's the thing is when Kenny Pickett was a quarterback, you knew coming in, he already was going to go to the check down. You watch Mason, he gets the ball, he's looking down the field. He's looking for George Pickens. He's looking for Deontay Johnson. If it's not there, then he goes right to his check down to the running back. He knows exactly where he's at. That's what Coach Tomlin talked about when he talked about Mason Rudolph and what he brings to this team. It's his confidence, his understanding of the offense, and his ability to go through those progressions quickly. He is a great passer. He has a great understanding of what the Steelers want to do.
Yeah, and, quite frankly, they came out all season long. We've been talking about first quarter points and drives, and yet right off the bat today, they silenced that crowd. Got to give Steeler Nation a lot of credit out there. There are a lot of people in black and gold at that stadium. You never see that with a visiting team, and as a result, the Steelers came right out. 14 plays, 80 yards, and that culminated with the Jaylen Warren touchdown of 18 yards. They outgained Seattle 119-27 in that first quarter. We have not seen that on a consistent basis from the Steelers, but in the last couple of games, that's exactly what we've seen. And when you play from ahead, it's a lot better than playing from behind.
There's no question. Listen, when you have to honor the deep throw, Bob, when you have to honor that Mason Rudolph can throw it over the top, it opens up the running lanes. It gives a softer front, a softer box for the Steelers to run against. And that's why you're seeing today 46 carries for 202 yards, because they've got to honor that. So they've got to back up a little bit. They can't put 8 guys in the box, or Mason Rudolph's going to pick them apart. So the Steelers are going to continue to take what the defenses are going to give them. If they're going to put people up in the box, they're going to throw the ball. If they put people back and play cover 2, they're going to run the ball and they're going to pound it, and that's what they did today.
So what do you think the biggest difference is with Mason Rudolph? And I say that knowing that you've said for several weeks that he was the best option. It took a while to get to him. Why did it take so long to get to him if he is the guy that we see here today? Is it just being in the system? Before you answer that, let's go to Mike Tomlin. He's going to take some questions right now.
Playing a team that was desperate like we were, and we didn't blink, and so I'm appreciative of that. They're to be congratulated for that. But I thought the offensive line provided the wave that we rode. We talked all week about trying to conquer the environment and winning the line of scrimmage being a major component of it. And they embraced that challenge, man, and I thought they kind of controlled the climate, made third downs manageable ones, minimized possession downs, minimized the crowd component of it. And so just thankful for that. A lot of plays made by a lot of people. But that's team football, particularly this time of year as the road gets narrow. TJ got injured in game, but I think he's going to be okay. The rest of his bumps and bruises associated with play. I think Joey Porter went down, but he went back in. So we're thankful, and we'll keep pressing. Questions?
Mike, how encouraging is it to get back-to-back offensive performances like that, especially now when you really need it?
You said it. The really needed component of it. Smiling in the face of adversity and being our best selves in the most critical circumstances is what we desire to be, and the guys displayed that.
Mike, was the plan to come in and try to run it like you did?
Most certainly.
Just saw that in the film, thought you could do it?
We thought that it was the purest way to conquer the environment.
What do you think about the way Mason handled the environment?
I thought he did a nice job.
Was that was going under center part of a specific game plan for this, and how do you feel like that played into the running success?
Under center or gun, it doesn't matter. We were committed to running the football to minimize the environmental component of it. It's today's NFL, man. You running gun, you run under center, you running pistol. That's everybody. It's not just us.
Mike, what did you like about the way Najee ran today?
I thought he was determined, as was Jalen. I thought we got appropriate efforts from all parties involved, and not to minimize it. It was just a critical time, and so if you're a competitor, you're going to be at your best.
Do you stay with the hot-handed quarterback for next week?
We'll talk about that next week. Right now, we're just appreciative of the victory, and we'll give you guys something to buzz about here for the next 24 or so.
Mike, you're still going to need help because of what happened today. You just ignore that and do what you got to do?
All we can do is win the games that we're in. And that's this time of year. That's any time of year. You can't spend a bunch of time scoreboard watching and things of that nature. It's professional ball. We got to beat the people we play.
Isn't it normal to watch scoreboards, though, at this point of the year?
Not for me.
Was Kenny not dressed because he was unable to play?
Just the early portions of the week, we didn't know what his availability might be. We allocated reps accordingly, and so we'll see what next week holds.
Anyone else?
Mike, one question. There was a big sack by Herbig there, just kind of seal everything off.
Really was. Young guy on the come, man. We got a lot of young guys on the come, man. We needed that play. He loves football. He works hard. He made a significant play for us, certainly.
Defense gave up some big plays, but they were also able to hold some field goals. How important was that, especially in the early part of the second half?
That's football, particularly this time of year. They got an explosive group, man. They got a veteran quarterback. They got an awesome group of weapons, receivers, tight ends, running backs. I'm appreciative of the efforts of everyone, particularly on the short field. I just thought it was the difference, particularly in the second half. Holding them to field goals and being solid down there on the short field. And to be honest, after we experienced a lot of attrition at linebacker and safety, we hadn't done a lot of that. And so it was cool to see that happen.
Did you get a good view of that catch George made on the third down deep pass?
Yeah. We're used to seeing George make plays like that.
You always talk about not living in your fears. Was that a perfect example of that first down play?
You said it. Scared money don't make money. I think I said that last week.
Did that go into some of the fourth down decisions early as well?
You said it.
Anyone else? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Mike Tomlin walks off after really not answering starting quarterback next. I don't think there's any doubt that he's going to go back to Mason Rudolph. He may not say that now, but I don't know how you can deny what you've seen in a must-win game against a Baltimore team that's clinched the #1 seed, Chris, and likely won't play a lot of people. You have to win it first and foremost. And all due respect to everybody else on that roster, with back-to-back 30-point games, no turnovers and big numbers, I don't know how you can go against Mason Rudolph.
Oh, you can't. Listen, the reality is they got to win to stay alive. And before Mason Rudolph came into the season, started playing, the Steelers were averaging about 15, 16 points a game. They've doubled that. In the 2 games that Mason Rudolph started, they're averaging 32 points a game. They've had back-to-back 30-point games for the first time since 2020. And again, the most yards in a game today that they've had since 2018. This offense is explosive now. It looks like an NFL offense. And here's the thing we can talk about, Bob, is everybody wanted to complain about Matt Canada. Everybody wanted to complain about the play calling. It doesn't look so bad right now, right? It might be the person that's actually out there calling the plays in the huddle and throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah, and the big question will be if Mason Rudolph starts, and I, again, believe he will, then who will be the backup? Because Jerry Dulac of the Post-Gazette reported earlier that Kenny Pickett was healthy. In fact, Pickett himself said this week in a press conference that he was healthy and ready to go, and he did not play. So I wonder what would happen, because then you're in a situation where what's your best option if something happens to Mason Rudolph, or if you need to make a switch, and I would believe that's Kenny Pickett, and he would have to be the backup.
I think the Steelers are weighing a couple things, right? First of all, you have Kenny out there. Do you look at really let Kenny heal? Yeah, he's healthy enough to play, but is he 100%? That's one thing. The other thing is, if you're going to start Mason Rudolph and have Kenny as the backup, are you easily influence to put Kenny out there if Mason does struggle in the first quarter, right? Or could Mason feel that pressure of having Kenny right there on his heels if Kenny's suited up? So there's a lot of things the Steelers have to weigh here when they make this decision, but there's no way that you can go back and go to Kenny right now when Mason has the hot hand and he's 2-0 as a starter.
Yeah, I think that's the prudent call based on what we've seen so far with a must-win on the horizon. So the Steelers win today. That means they have to win and get more help. They didn't get much help today at all. All the teams from the AFC South won their games, although now we got a head-to-head matchup coming up for the division, which would be Colts and Texans, so somebody's going to lose that game. You have to wonder about Cincinnati. They were engaged with Kansas City and still are in a game that they desperately need to win. And then you have Buffalo, which is at 10 wins right now, but they lose a lot of tiebreakers, especially in three-way ties, so the Steelers would have an advantage there against them, but you have to win first and foremost. And how do you think Baltimore will play it?
Listen, I will know when I played for the Steelers, when we went to Baltimore one time, the Baltimore Ravens were in the playoffs. We were out, and they still went out there and played their starters. It was a hard-fought game. We played all the way to the end of the game. I mean, it was close the whole time through. And they turned around and had to play a game the following Saturday, not knowing when they played us there was going to be a Saturday game. They ended up losing the first round. So there is a rivalry here. There is a fact that, hey, we lost the last game to the Steelers. We want to go in and win this game. So I wouldn't be surprised if John Harbaugh played his starters in this game.
Lamar Jackson, you're going to put the MVP of the NFL.
I'm just telling you, right? There's a lot of pride on the line, too.
But what would you do?
Well, I would say
Lamar Jackson should not.
But you understand something, though. This is the Ravens Steelers. Now, listen, you're probably right. I'm not saying
it's a meaningless game.
I'm not saying that you're not right, but I wouldn't be surprised if John Harbaugh played them a little bit.
Maybe treat it like a preseason game and play a couple, series.
First quarter.
Who knows?
Lamar Jackson sure looks good, though.
And he shouldn't play.
I agree with that.
Just because if there's an injury, then John Harbaugh will be villain number one in Baltimore, despite this outstanding season they've had. We'll take a break. We got post-game interviews coming up and much more analysis, plus your phone calls a little bit later in this broadcast as we continue following a 30-23 Steelers win on the road in Seattle, a game Seattle desperately needed as well. But the Steeler defense, we'll talk about them. Give them credit. A lot of patchwork guys, man, but they stepped up and played when they had to. We'll continue right here live on KDKA+.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point.
We're back with more. Bob Pompeani and Chris Hoke with you as the Steelers come away with a 7-point road win. They played some of their best football on the road this year. Let's take a look at the JP Roofing final stats from this game as we break it down. And again, the run game was the key. They leaned on it heavily. It led to 468 yards of offense today, 30 points in back-to-back games. And again, the time of possession, that's the big difference of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. What stands out to me here, Bob, is the time of possession. 15 minutes more the Steelers had than the Seahawks. That's due to two things. First of all, it's the running game and dominating the line of scrimmage, and it's third downs. The defense did a really good job, Bob, of getting off the field on third downs today. I mentioned to you during the game when we were watching it that the Steelers were doing a great job on third and mediums, eliminating the play and getting off the field. And it was frustrating for the Seahawks to not be able to continue drives throughout the game.
And that's basically the situation that happened today. The running backs led the way. Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, both of those guys went over 1,000 yards, scrimmage yards for the season, combined rushing and pass receiving. And here are the breakdown with these guys when it comes to the run game. Jaylen Warren averaged 4.5, but he was off to a better start than that. Got slowed a little bit, and Najee Harris picked it right up. 27, that's the most I think he's carried here. And 122 yards, 5.8 yards. And again, that touchdown he got at the end, I thought we were going to see a forward progress whistle blown. It never happened. They kept pushing. They got into the end zone.
And that's like, they might as well go out there and just have a tug of war and see who's stronger, right? I mean, he was stood up. I felt like his forward motion was stopped. Typically, they would blow the whistle, but this year they've let those things go, Bob, and they pushed him right into the end zone, and you're seeing that really the way that they ran the football. The way that Jaylen Warren ran, the way that Najee Harris ran, it wasn't that they just ran the ball and had big holes to run through. They delivered blows. They took the fight to the defenders for the Seahawks, and that was what's fun to see. It was these stiff arms. How many times did we see, Bob, where they got the ball and there was a defender in the backfield, and they either stiff-armed or they ran over them or whatever they had to do, they broke those tackles and got positive yardage. That was encouraging to watch.
It really was, but so was the offensive line at work. Broderick Jones speaks on behalf of that offensive line in Lumen Stadium postgame right now.
It felt good. We had a game plan ready to come in and run the ball, so I feel like we executed, us up front, the O-line, the running backs, they did their thing. So, I just give it up to the running backs, how physical they were today, making people miss, Najee got a great stiff arm, like us as an O-line, we love to see that, So just them being physical and just continue to dominate and continue to just run through people's faces, it's a good feeling.
I think all Steelers fans love to see that stiff arm.
Yeah, that's a big dude, man. That's a big dude running at you. When he catches speed, it's hard to tackle him. So
Close to 500 yards of offense. Is this the offense you guys were searching for maybe this entire season?
Man, we always had it in us. It's just the ability of the offense to lock in, like as a whole, everybody being on the same page, all 11 guys that's on the field playing on one band, one accord, just continuing to execute, just us imposing our will throughout the whole game, that's a big factor in it. So
what's been the spark for you guys, you think?
Just us playing together, I feel like just like everybody's on the same page. Everybody's bringing the fight with them. So, if you got that, it's hard to stop us. So,
what has Mason done for this offense?
Man, Mason's done a great job. He comes in with the spark. He's not timid. He's been doing it for a long time. So, he was just waiting on the shot. He got it, and he's taking full advantage of it. So
the playoff door isn't closed. What does this mean, a win like here today? The way.
All right, that's Rich Walsh in the locker room. We're going to take you live right now. Mason Rudolph at the podium after that big performance.
I assumed that it would be in some sort of a zero or a press one high look, and figured George would win on a slant. So, yeah, I mean he made big plays all day on third down, and so did Deontay. So did a lot of guys on our squad today, but that was a big one. But yes, a bit nerve-wracking, but rewarding.
Mason, how encouraging to put back-to-back win performances, offensive performances like that together.
That's great. I mean, we knew that was our only shot to get into the tournament. So, I don't know any information on scenarios or whatnot, but we knew that we got to win. We got to win next week. So. But just proud of, just thought it was a team. I mean, it was just really a team win. Very, very cliche, but very true. The turnover there late in the fourth quarter to give us the ball in a short field, and then the offensive line. I don't know what we rushed for. I don't know if we broke the 200 mark, but they did. So that was incredible.
Mike said you were going to come in wanting to run the ball, and you did, didn't you?
Yeah, we knew we wanted to go at them in a hostile environment on the road and try to, quell some of that, and then play action and throw when you needed to. But it's why this place has got such a reputation for being hard to play at on the road. So we rode the wave of the offensive line today, and they carried us to the finish line.
Mason, back to that call to Pickens, it shows some confidence in the quarterback, doesn't it?
I think in that look, there's probably a lot of quarterbacks that could have completed that one. With no safety help, George got the separation. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm appreciative that, I don't know. I think a lot of coaches and a lot of play callers want to be conservative there and just run it out. But we got a very aggressive head coach who, I think he made that call at the end of the day, and so it paid off.
Mason, does any of this surprise you these last 2 weeks?
I mean, yes and no. I didn't really. You never know what could happen, and like I said, God orchestrates things in different ways, and it's. But I told the people out there, I thought probably be what happened last year. I didn't get a start. There wasn't a opportunity to jump in there and finish the year riding the old pine. So thankful that I got a break and had an opportunity to lead our team. It's just fun, man, playing football after not doing a whole lot of that for the last few years. So, but yeah.
Is it personally rewarding to you that it's the best two offensive performances of the year back to back?
I haven't looked at I haven't looked at the film obviously or statistically, but I don't really care much about. We knew we had to get a win in Seattle on the road in a very tough spot with a team who's trying to make the playoffs as well, who's got everything to play for, and once again, so enjoyable to take all the reps this week in practice and build the confidence and just I just don't have enough reps with those guys, and we had a good week and felt good going into it.
Was there a particular pass that when you hit it, you thought, okay, this is going to be a pretty good game?
you try not to. I mean, you get into a groove. Yes, I think. When the Deontay fumble and then it became a fumble out of bounds, that was always a nice one to get on your side because that could have turned the ball game a different way early in the game, on our side of the 50. So, just thankful and happy to have a nice happy plane ride home.
Yeah, when they're long like that, you want them to be happy, and they will be happy tonight as they fly back to Pittsburgh. This is your quarterback comparison here, and you can tell with a 112 passer rating that it was a good day for Mason Rudolph. Geno Smith did some nice work as well, but the bottom line was the Steelers did not make mistakes. And that is a big part of how they win games like this. You can't turn the ball over. They didn't.
Yeah. And what was the narrative, Bob, for so long throughout the season was Tomlin just said, don't turn the ball over, don't take risks. Well, Mason's sitting in the pocket, throwing the ball down the field, big throws. I mean, listen, they had a throw of 42 yards to Deontay. They had a throws of 37 yards, 44 yards, 24 yards to George Pickens. They had a throw of 25 yards to Freiermuth. No turnovers. There's an ability. You can throw the ball down the field, and you can do it effectively and efficiently without turning the ball over.
I think that's a great point. And the other thing is he made two really nice recoveries of bad snaps by Mason Cole. One of them led to the 23-yard angry run by Jalen Warren. That ball was over his head. He went up, jumped, and got it, Mason Rudolph did. And then there was another one that led to the it was a pass to Freiermuth. I think that was the bad snap, too, that it turned into a 25-yard game. So those are two under-the-radar kind of plays that Mason Rudolph made in the pocket, just making sure that he got that and it didn't turn into a fumble or anything worse. We're going to take a break here. We have a lot more coming up as we continue. We'll talk a lot about the playoff picture now because it's coming into clearer focus. The Steelers still are going to need help. But with a win, their chances move up dramatically. Right now, it's 31% getting into the playoffs. Again, based on what they're going to need. We'll talk about it and break it all down. After a much-needed must-win 30-23, your final score today, Steelers now 9-7 on this season.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you until 9 o'clock tonight. So a little bit later, we'll be taking your phone calls at 412-575-2600. That is a special edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Right now, let's take a look at the playoff picture because it's gotten a clear focus. The Steelers got no help today. However, by winning, they increase their chances of getting in. And here it is. Baltimore has the #1 seed, so they will play next week knowing that they get a week off. Some teams don't like to have 2 straight weeks off, so they may play some of their guys. Miami, they are going to be in a tussle with Buffalo to win that division now. It comes down to that game next week, Buffalo, Miami. Kansas City, they're in. Jacksonville, they got to win. They're at Tennessee. And there you see Houston and Pittsburgh now. The thing here is that the Colts and Texans play next week, Chris. So one of them will get to 10 wins, which means one will be knocked out, the other won't. So if Jacksonville wins, and one of those 2 wins, you got to hope that Buffalo loses or Jacksonville loses. To me, that's what I'm looking at.
Absolutely. And listen, the reality is the Steelers have to win. They can't focus on any of those things. But the reality is the Steelers are counting on those 2 scenarios like you talked about. Either Jacksonville losing at Tennessee or Buffalo losing at Miami. And what an exciting weekend. Coming down to the very end. This is what you want. But you wish the Steelers had control of their own destiny and when you're in. It's frustrating when you got – how many times have we seen the Steelers over the years, Bob? They're playing in the last week of the season and they're depending on other people. It's so frustrating. And if you just win some games against 2 and 10 teams,
there you go.
You wouldn't be here.
That to me is going to be, if they don't make the playoffs, you'll look back at that 2-game stretch when they were 7-4, could have been 9-4, favored in both those games against Arizona. Although I'll give Arizona credit. They went to Philly today and won. They've knocked out some teams here down the stretch. But the New England Patriots have done the same, and they did it here in Pittsburgh behind Bailey Zappi. All right, Jalen Warren, he had a nice game today, including an 18-yard touchdown run. Let's hear from him in the locker room after the game.
Good, just like I said, we just come out and do our thing, and that's what it looks like.
Is this the kind of offense you guys were hoping for all season and starting to come together now?
Yeah, 100%.
What about the run game? Why was it so effective here today?
Everybody get on the guys and knowing what to do and just trusting each other.
What's been the spark for you guys, you think, here?
I think just, the playmaking, I feel like nobody on the team's waiting to make the play. Everybody's willing to make the play. So you can just see it on film.
Roderick just said, he told me that his favorite part of the running game for you guys was Najee's stiff arm. What'd you think of that when you saw that?
Oh, yeah, that got me hard. I would say that's my favorite part, too. Hey, that's a spark right there.
How about the 23-yard run that you had?
Yeah, I don't really know what it looks like. I was just running for my life. So, I mean, yeah, whatever it is to, like, that's going to move the chains. That's what we do.
What does Mason do for this offense?
He provides spark, too. He does his thing. He doesn't hesitate. He puts the ball where it's supposed to be.
5.8 yards per carry today. He's always running for his life. That's how he views it. And the guy has speed. He's got the willingness to take you on. And he mentioned the stiff arm. It was Tariq Woolen who was victimized there by Najee Harris. I often wonder, you're a defender, why do guys always go high when they know they have the risk of the potential stiff arm as opposed to going low?
Well, if they go low, they're going to high step them, or when the arm's out there, they've got to be able to knock that arm down and drive through the hip of the runner. But here's the reality. What a 1-2 punch they have. Jaylen Warren, he is a jitterbug, and he puts that foot in the ground. He's explosive. He sees holes. He's able to cut back, as you saw in his first touchdown run of 18 yards. And then Najee comes in, and he is a bulldozer. He hasn't even tried to cut back. I mean, he's not going to apologize about it. He's just going to run over you, Bob, and make it hurt. So 1-2, you have Najee doing that, then Jaylen comes in and boop, boop, boop. He goes right by you. And that's the 1-2 punch the Steelers need to have if they're going to get into the playoffs, because that's how you win games in December and January, is pounding the football to the tune of 42 times for 202 yards. That's the recipe.
I've been doing this show a long time with you. I've never heard you go boop, 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 boop.
That's how you just watch him, though. He puts that foot in the ground, and he goes left. He puts the foot in the ground and goes right. And Najee, that's not his personality in running the football. We talked about this when we watched the game together. He just comes straight downhill, and if you're in the way, he's going to try to be like a battering ram.
He is.
And it's good. It's a good change of pace, and they complement each other very, very well.
Pat Freiermuth had a nice day. 3 catches on 4 targets, but a big 25-yarder that really was important for that particular drive. Let's hear from him in the locker room afterwards.
Offense is coming alive.
Yeah, it feels great. We're executing. We're playing really good football, and it feels great.
Is this kind of the offense you guys were hoping for maybe the entire season?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's all coming together, and I think we're doing a great job. Obviously I wish we could do it early in the season, but, what better way to doing it right now and being able to put us in a playoff position next week.
Why do you think the run game was so effective today?
Just executing. Going into it, we kind of knew we needed to run the ball well, and, everyone bit down and got the job done.
What was the spark for you guys these last 2 weeks? 30 points. It hasn't been done in quite some time.
I think it's just us executing and, doing what we're supposed to do and letting the chips fall where they may.
What does Mason do for you guys out there?
Yeah, Mason, he's a vet. He's been here for a while, and he knows what, how to execute the offense, and he's been doing a great job, and can't say enough good things about him.
You guys are still in it, though, and I guess it's a positive thing going into last week.
Yeah, we're still in contention to play playoff football. I don't see what happened. I don't know what happened earlier, but we're, from what I understand, we got to win out, and we took a step in the right direction today.
Yeah, they had a win last week. They did. They had a win today. They did, and now they have one more at Baltimore, the team with the #1 seed in the AFC, and they deserve it. They've been terrific, winning big games today, 56-19 over a team like Miami. They did it last week in San Francisco. They're knocking people down, but it's a different season. That second season, and Lamar Jackson hasn't done what
and there's
people
no
expect
question.
him to
You
do.
said the #1 team in the AFC. They're the #1 team in the NFL right now. Going into San Francisco last week, blowing them out, then winning at home today, blowing out the next best team. I mean, this is a loaded team, and they stay healthy, they got a chance.
Najee Harris, 122 yards rushing today, and the stiff arm. Let's hear from him.
And just to have a good game plan, execute it, and the O-line coming through, man. I think that, just show you what type of team that we are.
Najee, a couple guys said that for you, when you get one big run, then another, you kind of build on them. Just what was the key for you today to have such a big game?
Well, the key wasn't for me, really. It was just for all of us. Us running backs knew what we had to do to win the game. Just like last time, we had to establish a run so guys could play off of it. The receivers could make the plays, and even the certain plays that, maybe Jaylen have that kind of sparks the offense. We have to build off of that, and it opens up a lot of things. Us running the ball inside a lot, create a lot of, good plays on the edge for guys to break runs and make plays. Just establishing a run helped out a lot.
You were tight with Marshawn. What was it like having him here today? Did you feel like you were channeling him a little bit with some of those runs that you had?
Channeling him? No, I did not. No. But it's always good to see Marshawn. My whole, pretty much the guys that's in my circle, really, they was all there at the game. This is a place obviously that's close to home, so a lot of guys were able to make it. So it was good seeing Sean. It's actually surprised me because he's always traveling everywhere, and I guess I was on the field and stretching, and he just came up and hugged me. So did B and everybody else. So it was good to see my team. I haven't seen them in a minute. I just talked to them over the phone because of the distance, but it was good to see the guys that's in your circle.
As you mentioned, everybody getting involved, being part of this offense. Do you feel like this offense has found its identity here over the last couple of weeks?
I mean, yeah. I think that we're doing a good job right now of knowing what we're doing. Not every game is going to look like this, and I know the past games I said that we looked good one week and another week, you guys might ask, well, what's wrong with it? Well, it's just football. Like, not every time is going to be amazing and great plays and great performances, but if we just stick together like we did and really just believe and execute the game plan, I think that things like this will show up. So really just a good job by the O-line and the receivers and Coach Sulla and Coach Falk of just doing what they have to do and establishing the run and really executing the game plan that they provided. I think that they really did a good job on that.
Should you take us through that touchdown run where you dragged 6-7 people in with 3 of your tight ends helping you along the way? Were you able to?
That the second one? Second one.
Where the tight ends were out pushing. I mean, have you been able to see that yet?
No, I didn't. But they told me. Pat likes bragging about what he did, especially after every play. Even if it's not him making a play, he just said, "Did you see me push you, Naj?" I mean, he does stuff like that. So I didn't see it, but like I said, Pat came to me screaming about, "I helped you out on that." So I'm happy for Pat. Oh, was it somebody else? It was Darnell and Connor too. Oh man, that's why they were saying give us the game ball. Okay, I get it then. I try to understand why that was. Okay, that's what's up. Shit.
Did they get the game ball?
No, the O-line did, but they were screaming like, "What about the tight ends?" But that's what's up.
Your first touchdown, though, it seemed like you did anything possible to not go down. What was going through your mind on that play?
Man, score a touchdown. That's really it. Just scoring a touchdown. Was it tie game? Was it tie game? Was it tie game? It was tie game? Yeah, it was tie game. So us being in the red zone really emphasized of us we got to score in the red zone. I don't know how many trips we came in today, how many times we had trips in the red zone, but we had 3 touchdowns, I think, in the red zone. I think we probably was in there like 5 times probably. But, a big thing for us is we need to improve on is executing in the red zone. So, my mindset there is, this type of area, we got to, whoever number is called, you got to execute that. So my number was called on that, and I just try to do everything I can to, just provide for the team.
Are you guys more confident after these last 2?
You said we're more confident?
As a group.
I mean, we're always confident. Like I said, sometimes it just don't go how we want, but that isn't, if it don't go how we want, it doesn't mean we're not confident in ourselves. We keep the same mindset going in every game. Sometimes it might not plan out like how we wanted to, but, just going in every week and knowing that this is a new week. You watch film from like this game in particular. We could watch film, see what we did good, see what we did bad, and we got to move on to Baltimore. We got to win out. This is kind of the playoffs for us, so us executing right now is just the biggest thing, and watching film and moving on is just a big thing. Next play, next game, and that's really it.
I know the O-line
What would you say about Mason's impact on the offense? What he able to do?
Yeah, Mason's a guy with a good experience. He's been here longer than me. He's been here since, playing under Ben. So, he has a lot of experience. So I think that, him just his vet mentality, I think that's just something that he does good at. And, I'm always excited for Mason because, Mason had a lot of adversity he went through. And, man, just to see him out there doing what he has to do, it's always good. I always tell him, like, man, like, good job, Mason. Man, you did what you can. That's all you need to do. And we came out with a win.
Following up on Mason, just his ability to stretch the ball and give you guys a vertical threat, how much does that also help open up the run game?
It helps out a lot because teams know that we're trying to establish the run. So teams are going to play certain defenses to us. And, we have receivers to make plays. So, Mason's is doing a good job of just, taking those opportunities that they are playing one high safety, or they are having a heavy box, or playing base to certain looks to us. So Mason knows that, and he's taking advantage of those, and it helps out the line, helps out the running backs, helps out everybody, because now teams got to play that too, and it helps us out.
Did you think they were going to let you score in the last one? And did someone tell you to slide, or did you do that on your own?
No, someone told me to slide. Did I think? I don't know. I don't know shit. Did I think they were? I don't know. But thank you, guys.
All right, Najee Harris, who made a very unselfish play in sliding before he got to the end zone. It would have been his third touchdown, as it is a season high 2, a season high for attempts at 27, a season high yards, 122. The significant part about that, Chris, is that 118 yards after contact. That tells you all you need to know about him, about them as an offense and an offensive line.
Yeah, well, it also tells me a lot about Najee Harris, and tells me a little bit about the offensive line, because are they letting guys in the backfield? I mean, you saw at times when Najee Harris, we talked about this, stiff-arming guys when 3 yards in the backfield, running through dudes when they were coming in the backfield. So they still can get better in the run game, but the way that Najee's running and the way he's throwing people and finishing runs is very impressive.
No question about that, and he's a guy who will make you pay up the middle. That's his forte. And Jaylen Warren's a guy who can do it inside, outside. One thing about Jaylen Warren is his ability to just keep his feet moving no matter what. It's unbelievable. And he'll take a hit. He'll dish out a hit. He'll do whatever it takes to, as he said, running for his life mentality. I think that pretty much sums him up. Deontay Johnson had a big 42-yard catch in this game early on. He also had a play down the sideline, which he fumbled, but luckily stepped out of bounds and kept the long drive alive. This is what Deontay Johnson told Rich Walsh after today's game.
The last 2 games, how does this feel when the offense is coming together like it is?
It feels great, just to see the work that we put in, just to be able to put it on film and go out there and you see everybody moving and working hard. You see the run game, the O-line, blocking their behind off. Got to give credit to him today, the O-line. Without them, none of the passing game stuff wouldn't have worked. And like I said, we get control of the line of scrimmage, and the momentum carried over to the defense. And like I said, that energy, we needed that energy today.
How fun is it? I mean, almost 500 yards of offense out there.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, but it's great. It's like the hard work we put in, we just trying to go out there and keep executing and just making Coach T look good out there for one another as well. So just to be able to have a running game that we did and the passing game that we did today, like I said, that shows that we moving in the right direction.
Is this the kind of offense you guys were hoping for the entire season?
Yes, for sure. We just had to find that little niche. Whatever it was, we bought into it. Like I said, it was just little stuff we had to figure out. But like I said, 1 week at a time. And I feel like today we showed that. We got one more game. We're going to win that one too.
What's been the spark? I mean, this was a hostile environment. You guys still kept it going.
Like I said, the O-line up front, just how they control the line of scrimmage, and we capitalizing on the passing game. Once they stacked the box or whatnot, that's what they did toward the second half, trying to stack the box, and we had a lot of opportunities outside. Once we had them, we took advantage of them.
How about Mason? Not too many third-string quarterbacks can come in and put together 2 back-to-back games like this.
Mason did a great job. He came in there, was poised, knows what he's doing out there at all times. Making sure we're in the right spots, and like I said, that made us play for him, and made him look good out there as well when he threw the ball. So.
Yes, he did. He threw the ball and did a very good job at that. Deontay Johnson's day, as you see, 4 receptions, 76 yards, 19 average, 4 targets also. He made every catch that was targeted in his direction. Bottom line is they did a very good job spreading that ball around and taking risks down the field without actually worrying about the turnover. And I think those are plays you have to make, and Mason Rudolph has stepped up and made those plays. Just because you're trying to protect the ball and not make a turnover doesn't mean you can't be aggressive. And I think that's the mixture, that's the line he's been walking. He's done a good job.
That was the narrative. That was the excuse, right? Oh, Tomlin doesn't want him to take risks. There was no ability to throw the ball down the field. They asked the question. Everybody's dodging the question, Bob. Who's the spark? What's the spark? It's Mason Rudolph.
It is a spark.
There's no question. Nobody will say it. Mason Rudolph is the spark.
Why won't they say it?
Because Kenny's the #1 draft pick. Kenny's the starter all year, and there's relationships there. Nobody wants to put it out there. But the reality is that Mason Rudolph has come in here, and he's doubled the point production in the 2 starts he's played. He's put more yardage on the table than any quarterback has put on at the table in 4 years. I mean, he is the guy. He's opened up the running game. There was a stretch there when the Steelers were able to run the ball. There was, I think, 3 or 4 games where they ran for 150 yards. But today was the most dominant running they've ever had. And, I mean, that I can remember in recent years. It's because exactly what Najee Harris talked about. When you can throw the ball down the field, you have to be able to play cover 2. You have to be able to put multiple safeties deep. That opens up running lanes. That opens up a soft box. But when you can't throw the ball deep, then you put an 8th defender in the box, and it's much more difficult to get a hat on a hat and allow your running backs to get up into the second level quickly. It's Mason Rudolph who has absolutely been the spark to this offense the last 2 weeks, and there's no question about it.
And there's nothing like chopping wood with Chris Hoke here on a post-game show. Tell you who else was doing some nice wood chopping. That would be Dan Moore Jr. You know, he's been under a lot of scrutiny. When Broderick Jones was taken in the first round, the Steelers moved up to 14th to get him. People thought that meant the end of Dan Moore. Not so fast. It meant Chuks Okorafor may lose his job. They moved Jones over there. Dan Moore has continued to do his. He spoke after the game as well.
It's got to feel pretty good to put back-to-back performances like this up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, winning is obviously a great feeling. And then coming off of 3-4 game losing streak, and then winning a big game on the road, obviously keeping our playoff hopes alive, and just the way we did it, the fashion in which we did it, running the ball, being physical. I think we made a statement today.
Is this the kind of offense you guys were hoping for the entire season?
100%. I mean, Coach talks about it. As the season wears on, the attrition of football, just moving the line of scrimmage, putting the onus on the big guys. So, I mean, all the pressure was on us this week, and I think we executed.
What's been the spark? Is it Mason? What do you think is? Could you put your finger on it?
I don't know, man. You could say a numerous of things, but I mean, winning is winning, so that's all that matters.
How about the run game? You know, why was it so effective today for you guys?
I think our coaches did a really good game plan going into the week, and I think it came down to execution.
Yeah, the game plan to me, and I heard Mike Tomlin tell us this on our show we did with him, was running the football against this team. Just because of the statistics that Seattle was not good at stopping the run, and they were minus some people inside. Bobby Wagner's a veteran. He's been around for a long time. He's one of their leading tacklers. He was pushed around a little bit today by that Steeler offensive line as well.
There's no question. They're 27th in the NFL, giving up 4.5 yards a rush. The Steelers had 4.4 today, right there on par with what the Seahawks were giving up. But they were running right at Devin Bush. And if you go back and watch this film, Devin Bush did all day long. And he did a lot of what he had done when he was here with Pittsburgh. Just couldn't step up and fill gaps, right? And he struggled in the run game. And that's why the Steelers got rid of him. But I love the way that they just imposed it. That's old school Steeler football. Imposing your will on the defender, on the opponent. And I hope they continue to do that and ride that into the playoffs if they can, if things can fall in line for them over the next week.
George Pickens has got to like that Mason Rudolph has started to target him more than anyone else did, and he has 326 yards in 2 games as proof. He spoke after the game as well. Let's hear from number 14.
What's been the spark for you guys to be able to put this offense together? A lot of guys were saying this is kind of what they were hoping for all year.
Yeah, I'll probably just say guys coming together. When you go through so much adversity during the season, and it's 15, 16 games, towards the end, I feel like guys now, are really locking in. All we got is ourselves.
When 22 and 30 are able to do what they're doing, how much does that free you up and get you open out there?
Oh yeah, that's simple football right there. When a run game open up like that, and you keep pounding it, and then towards the end of the game, we catch them all in the box and not hit them on a slant. That's literally how the game of football goes, and that's the best thing we did today was the run game. Shouts out to the O-line.
Broderick said his favorite moment was that stiff arm by Najee. Did you see that? What did you think of that?
That was crazy. Crazy stiff arm.
How much does it spark you guys when you see the big runs by Najee, them running through tackles, the stiff arm, things like that? Just what does that do for your momentum and get you fired up?
It's engineered victory, so we can't do nothing but be happy for him. When a guy running like how 30 and 22 did, you just want to applaud him.
All right, that's George Pickens. And again, he was a big-time receiver today down the field, especially that third down play, which resulted in 44 yards. And the big key to it was Mason Rudolph waiting in the pocket. He was not going to bail, and he didn't. And sometimes you keep your eyes downfield.
Yep.
That's the one thing that happens when you stay in the pocket is you keep your eyes down the field.
There's no question. You can see the whole field, right? When you're in the pocket. We saw him out of the pocket one time today. It was a play-action play, kind of a rollout, and he ran, and I think he got 4 yards or something. But other than that, he sits in the pocket. And on that third down you're referencing, Bob, I think it was 3rd and 6 in the third quarter sometime, maybe early fourth. He stood in there, and the defender was rushing. He was bearing down on him, and he stood and he threw that ball, and he didn't have an opportunity to step into that throw. He just threw it out there, a nice throw to George Pickens. He laid out, and that's why. I mean, listen, 3 weeks ago, Bob, George Pickens, people were ready to run him out of town. People were so upset with the way he was acting. Now he's the happiest guy in that Steelers locker room. It's because he has 326 yards over the last 2 weeks. Oh, and guess what? Mason Rudolph's been the quarterback.
Yep. And he's blocking now. And the one thing about George Pickens, when he's engaged, he's a good blocker. But he has to be engaged. It shouldn't have to take that, but it has taken that. And now
shouldn't be like that, but that's the truth.
But that is the truth. And he was engaged today, and he blocked down the field on the 18-yarder to Jaylen Warren. We'll take a break. We have playoff implications coming up and what really the Steelers need to do next week. We'll talk all about that. Then we'll take your phone calls and your thoughts on whether or not they can end up in the playoffs. And most likely will be as a 7 seed on the road at a team like Miami, potentially. We'll get your thoughts on that coming up shortly. 23 Steelers win. Back with more of our coverage here on KDKA+.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. We continue now. Let's break down today and what it means to the Steelers. First of all, they got no help here. The Bills won. They beat New England. The Texans beat the Titans pretty handily with C.J. Stroud back. The Colts survived the Raiders at home 23-20, and of course the Ravens wrapped up the #1 seed. That's a good development because, you know, the Ravens should not play all their guys next week against the Steelers. Late scores, the Bengals eliminated. Chiefs came back, and they were down in the game, win 25-17. Broncos are eliminated despite a win over the Chargers. So this is the way you could get in for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number one, you got to win. And you need, preferably, the Jaguars to lose to Tennessee, excuse me, or the Bills to lose to Miami, and they're playing for the division championship, or Colts and Texans tie. Now, there is also another scenario, which I can break down for you if you want, but it's very complicated. You'll need a tie in the Indy-Houston. You need Jacksonville lost. You need too many ties. We're
ties
beyond
aren't going to happen,
so we're not worried about ties. That hasn't happened all year. That's the most likely thing. You got to hope that Jacksonville loses in Tennessee, or you got to hope that Buffalo loses to Miami, and that one again is for the AFC East.
And think about this, Bob. The Ravens, we've heard that they do not like, with having a bye week, taking 2 weeks off, right? The momentum, the kind of the buildup is gone, and so I think they will play their guys. But number two, they would love nothing more than to stick it to their rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and beat them and take them out of playoff contention. So I just think things are setting up here where the Ravens could play their starters.
But at the expense of an injury to a critical player?
What do you do?
Come on.
You're living in your fears, right? I mean, this is the same thing.
No, I'm living in logic.
No, but listen,
logic land.
But the reality is
Lamar Jackson shouldn't play.
John Harbaugh does not want to take 2 weeks off. There's a lot to lose. I mean, think about the years. I remember when I was playing, and Peyton Manning and the Colts, they took that week off. It might have been a couple weeks, and the bye week. And they lost their momentum, they lost their mojo, and so I believe that there's going to be some element, maybe not the whole game, but there's going to be an element, and maybe they play all their starters and not Lamar Jackson, but majority of their starters are going to play in this game.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't discount that because they only have so many players. But a key guy like Lamar Jackson, I don't know that you can afford to lose or even take that chance. Cam Heyward spoke after the game. Here's what number 97 had to say.
Don't have nerves at this point. I think that's why. 5 or 6 years ago. But, fighting back. 9-7 right now. A chance to qualify for the playoffs. Whatever cards you're dealt, you deal with it. And to have a chance this late in the season to get in the playoffs, that's all we're hoping for. We need help, but that help doesn't happen unless we take care of our business.
And what's it mean to score 30 points in 2 games in a row from you from a defensive standpoint?
We haven't been at our best on defense, but to have an offense that is going out there giving us 30 points, that's a lot to rely on. I hate to say it gives us more room for error, but it's a team game, and to have that complementary football where if we give up a score, the offense goes down and gets another touchdown. you really do appreciate that.
Cam, a lot of your teammates seem to have embraced win or else, must win the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Why has getting back into a corner seemingly brought out the best in your team?
It's funny. Some of our younger guys, that's what they were raised on. In college, it's win or else. You really don't have that separation to really lose a game or there. So, from a young guy's perspective, it's you have to win. And I like to say we're trending in the right direction, but this game is not indicative of the next. And so we have to go out there and prepare, and everybody's got to be on it. It doesn't matter who they have out there. We got to get the job done.
Have you been in this before where you need help and it hasn't always come through? You need it again next week because of what happened today. How hard is that?
You can shoot yourself in the foot and talk about your mistakes. But I'm a glass half full type of guy, and we got an opportunity, and it's the guys in the locker room that got it done. 2 weeks ago, you could say we were still miles away. So we'll see what we can do. I believe in the guys in the locker room. I think we have the guys to do it. But we're not going to throw a party if we do get in the playoffs. We feel like we belong, and we just need an extra week to do it.
Cam, you said it, the way the offense plays, it kind of lessens the margin for error, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Does it, I don't want to say take some of the pressure off the defense, but what does it do for you guys? Does it give you a little extra juice, or what impact does it have?
Man, I think it speeds up the opposing offense. It lets you know that you can't just, nickel and dime you and feel comfortable. You look at what happened in this game. They were running the ball with success, but because the game was getting out of reach and they needed points bad, it gives us more chances to take as a defense. You can try some different things. But we haven't had that margin of error for a long time. But you look at these last 2 weeks, and you got to say, 30 points, that gets the job done. Anywhere you go, I think you're begging for 30 points. So we need that formula to keep taking place. The way our runners ran was really special. I can't say enough about the way Jalen and Najee ran the ball, not having turnovers on offense. And, we got points. We got touchdowns. And you need that versus quality opponents like the Seahawks.
Dave, you guys are...
All right, that's Cam Heyward after the game. And you would never, if I told you at the beginning of the season, these would be your leading tacklers against any team, let alone on the road at Seattle, Eric Rowe, Miles Jack, and Miles Killebrew, your top 3 tacklers, Chris Hoke. You would never believe that, but here we are, and kudos to them. They've come in and, largely a lot of them not playing at all and contributing to this.
Yeah, it's just to how the defense is playing and how the Seahawks fell behind, how they attacked the Steelers' defense. 49 plays the Seahawks had today, 33 passes. That's why you're seeing the safeties leading the team in tackles, right? Only 15 runs. And they had success in the run game. They had 5.9 yards a carry, Bob. So they were getting into the second level and even into the third level at times. That's why you saw very limited tackles for that defensive line.
All right, Miles Jack, as we said, was out of football, thinking about his life's work, and all of a sudden the phone rang. He's been here and he's made a difference. He spoke after the game. Rich Walsh was there.
Miles, what does it say about this defense being able to just not throw anyone in there, but you're just putting pieces together and you guys are getting it done?
It's just the confidence that our coaches have in us. They just instilled everybody do their job mentality, and as long as everybody's where they're supposed to be, we got guys that'll fly around, get to the ball, and make plays happen. And you guys seen that today. That's a hell of a team, the Seahawks. We knew it was going to be a back-and-forth fight. We threw punches, they threw punches, but at the end of the day, our punches hit a little bit harder.
The last 2 games, how does that feel, putting together back-to-back wins like this?
It feels great. That's what it's all about. December is the most important month, I feel like, in the NFL. We was always taught they remember December, you know what I mean? So winning these games, going on the road in a hostile environment like this, it just shows what type of team we are.
How difficult is it to play in an environment like
this?
It's
definitely it's a factor. They call the 12th man for a reason, you know what I mean? So the crowd, everything, the atmosphere, but as long as we stay focused, keep our keys in front of us, make sure the communication is good, nobody can beat us. So I'm confident in our guys.
The way the offense played the last two games, how much do you feed off that and their success that they're having?
Absolutely. I feel like, we had some givers on defense, but the offense answered right back. So it's cool that we can trust in them, and we're going to continue to be good so that way they can trust in us, hold the game down, and do their thing. But it's always good seeing the offense keeping us on the sideline, allowing us to drink Gatorade and water and watch the game. So that's always fun.
Roderick said his.
Yeah, that happens. And when it does happen, it's a good thing for the defense because they had a lot of guys who, as I said, are kind of patchwork, all due respect, and they didn't want to be on the field more than they had to be, and the offense made sure. And that, we talked about that last week as a big component. Got to possess the football.
Yeah, but it's third down, right? How many times were we sitting here, Bob, at this desk in games previous where the Steelers were 21%, 26%, 18% on third down? I mean, today they were 6 of 13, nearly 50%. And that is winning football. And that's why Myles Jack can say, we like sitting on the sideline drinking Gatorade. You don't want to keep putting your defense out there because if your defense is playing a lot of snaps, you're going to lose.
Joey Porter Jr. had an active day. He was, following DK Metcalf, who did have over 100 yards, but largely did a pretty decent job when he had to on some of those critical downs that Chris had just talked about. Here's number 24 after the game.
Shout out my boy 2-9, man. Levy, Shout out KZ23. He ain't here with us, but he turning up. It's just good to get those 2 wins after those 3 losses. This is a way to bounce back, especially at their spot. Yeah, we needed this for surely.
Talk about at the end of the game. They were coming at you. How does it feel to kind of hold your ground out there?
It made me feel good, They try to rock me off, man. Say, no, I ain't playing. They ain't writing me off. But, no, but it was good. I always look for those type of competitions in that moment. I was ready for that. He was too, and I just had to show up.
What does it say about this defense? You guys are just, putting guys in different places, moving guys around, and you guys are still getting it done.
We always kept that next man up mentality, and I feel like everybody that's stepped up and playing a great role. Ero, he been coming in making plays in and out. Pat P at safety making plays. So we got the pieces and we're just putting them together.
Last 2 games, the way you guys played, what does it do for this team heading into that final game? I know playoff store's still open. You need a little help, but the way this team's playing right now.
Man, we just worrying and focusing on us and what we could do. And Coach T always say control the controllables. And that's all we got to do. We just got to keep winning. And we got one more ahead of us, and we're going to just do what we can to get that victory.
All right, that's Joey Porter Jr. after the game. And, again, if you look at their production from a wide receiver point of view, take DK Metcalf away, they didn't have much. Lockett was not a factor. Smith and Jigma, I thought, would be, and he wasn't either.
Yeah, but Metcalf had a big game, right? And he had a big impact on the running game as well. Had that holding. But really, he was an all-around. He's a monster out there on the football field. I think I saw something where he had 3 catches against Joey Porter, one-on-one, 3 catches for 86 yards. That's big-time output.
Yeah, and, over the past several weeks, you saw Steelers, their opponents' tight ends get open big time. Trey McBride here with Arizona did it. And so do New England's tight ends. And today I thought Noah Fant would be a significant part of this. And although he had 5 catches, nothing to remember, really.
Nothing huge, right? No. Nothing to write home back to mom. But these tight ends, and I thought that they stepped up, and the Steelers defenders were much better against tight ends. And I think you're seeing the combination of safeties in there covering these tight ends versus Michael Walker, who at the time when that stretch where they were getting a lot of production out of tight ends for the opponents, he struggled in those coverages. Now you're seeing more safeties covering the tight end, and that's why you're seeing a much better clamp down on their production.
All right, now it's time for the Ford Road Ahead. And there's only one road, and it leads to Baltimore next week. Now, this is yet to be determined. It might be a Saturday game or a Sunday game. We don't know at this point. The NFL will decide because they have a host of games that are meaningful, and some have division implications on the line. The Ravens have not much to play for at all. They've already clinched number 1 seed. The Steelers do. So we'll find out. But that game is going to be interesting to see. And I understand what you're saying. I still would love to see how John Harbaugh approaches this game. Sure, you want to hand it to the Steelers if you're the Ravens, but you can't do it at the expense of hurting your critical players.
No, it'll be interesting to see the gamesmanship as we lead up to this game. But I get your point, Bob, and I can see Jackson not playing the same Lamar, but I believe that they're going to go in and they're going to battle and they're going to fight at some point in this game because they don't want to sit. John Harbaugh is a fighter. He's a grinder. I mean, everything I've always heard about coming out of Baltimore, these guys hit and they grind. That's why they're always a very physical team and a very physical defense. And so I don't see anything different in this game on Saturday or Sunday.
I agree with that. I think they're going to play hard. They're going to want to win. But I'm just saying the
and you take Lamar out. I mean, he's the front runner for the MVP.
But Tyler Huntley's played against the Steelers
played
plenty
well.
times.
And
right.
I mean, last year, even though he didn't have tremendous production. He still made the Pro Bowl.
Right.
So he's a formidable opponent.
We'll find out about all the details of that game coming up. In the meantime, we want your take on what you saw today, the last couple of weeks, and where the Steelers are 1 win away from possibly getting in. Your take is coming up on a special Steelers edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. It's 412-575-2600. Call us. Air your opinions right here on KDKA+. Thanks for joining us for your neighborhood Ford store Extra Point. We got the Sports Call up next.